off the shore of a small island somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. Just behind an outcropping of rocks sits a small boat holding a ragtag team of activists and marine biologists. Among them is none other than Sydney, master diver, shark enthusiast, and dedicated member of the Marine Life Conservation Corps.
Sid, are you clear on your mission?
As crystal.
Remember, Sid, if you're caught, half of us will lose our jobs, and the other half will go to federal prison.
As if they don't shoot us first.
Dylan, not helpful.
I'm not trying to be helpful. It's just a fact. The people at Big Fish Corp aren't good guys. They won't hesitate to shoot us down, and they've certainly got the funds to cover it up. Look, all I'm saying is be careful. I don't want to see you dead in the water, and truthfully, I rather enjoy being alive as well.
Marcus, Dylan, I appreciate the concern, but this isn't my first rodeo. I'll be back before you know it, and then we can hightail it out of here, and we'll be back at base before dinner.
With one last thoughtful look at Dylan, Marcus, and the rest of the crew, she tipped herself off the back of the boat and began what she couldn't have known would be her last mission with the Marine Life Conservation Corps. Sid knew that this could be the most important mission that she would undertake with the Conservation Corps. All she had to do was trail the SS Incarnation, one of the largest ships in the Fish Corps fleet. If she got close enough to snap some photos, or even to get on board, they might finally have enough solid proof of animal cruelty and illegal fishing practices to take the corrupt company down once and for all.
Easier said than done.
As she swam around the large outcropping of rocks that were hiding their small schooner, the target of her mission came into view. Large and stationary, there stood the SS Incarnation and her crew, who were casting massive nets and traps down into the water.
If I can see them, they'll see me soon enough. It's time to go under.
Affixing her mask to her face so it rested comfortably, Sid took one last glance at her surroundings before diving under the water. At her well-practiced pace, Sid reached surveillance range of the ship within a few minutes. Carefully peeking her head above the water, she started making her way around the boat, stopping every couple of seconds to snap pictures of the nets in the water as she maneuvered around them. Oversized nets, oil leaks from the boat, illegal fishing traps. The evidence accumulating was more than enough to do some serious damage to Big Fish Corp's reputation. Trying to get on the boat to find more information wouldn't be worth the risk. Having made up her mind, Sid began to circle back around the boat, hugging the hull as not to be seen. As she made her dive to depart from the boat, something crashes into the water in front of Sid, sinking slowly and deeper into the water. Something that would have been the final nail in the company's coffin, had that been the direction taken by fate. The carcass was huge, nearly 3 times the size of her own body. It was the corpse of a great white, defiled and mutilated. A fishing net had carved a grotesque crisscross pattern into its pale flesh, and its fins had been removed with jagged cuts. At the sight of the dismembered creature, Sid let out a blood-curdling scream, pained and angry, a scream that by all means no one should have heard. But as the respirator fell from her mouth, the turmoil-filled bubbles broke the surface of the water. Something was listening, a relic of the old ages. A power, terrifying in its magnitude, was listening, and it answered. As the last of the air in Sydney's lungs left with the dying notes of the scream, the water stirred, clouds filled the air, and a single bolt of lightning struck the water's surface. The fishing net, once stationary in the water, began to unwrap from the shark's lifeless body and rolled Sydney into its fold. As the net tightened once more around both Sydney's struggling form and the great white, it began cutting into her flesh, pulling tighter and tighter until the water bloomed a bloody red. As the water cleared of the blood, the crew of the ship crowded over the edge to see what had occurred. Two things lay floating in the now calm water. A limp wetsuit, abandoned with no diver, and a woman who was no longer quite herself, her flesh covered with a layer of what resembled shark skin, her face unblemished and surrounded by a wreath of flowing crimson hair which had been brown not more than an hour ago. The final change was the rest of her head was now surrounded by the head of a shark, sharp teeth protruding from the opening, the eyes of the shark, formerly dead and glassy, now glowing with an insatiable red anger. Two souls are bound by the twining thread of fate, two sides of a single coin. One side is human, and the other is... Falling into a deep slumber after the transformation, Sid next awoke on the deck of a ship. Expecting to taste the salty air of the ocean, Sid was instead surprised to find the unsettling taste of copper on her tongue. Looking around and down at her unfamiliar flesh, it didn't take long to locate the source. Blood. There was blood everywhere. And everywhere there wasn't blood, there was a body, some missing limbs and others missing heads, all of them unmoving. After vomiting over the side of the ship, there was little more for Sid to do except cry. And so she did. She stayed on the deck of the ship crying for what felt like an eternity until the solemn sound of her tears and the ocean waves were broke by the whirling sound of an engine. At this sound, the shark upon her head perked with interest and fear. Fear which all but subsided when she heard the familiar voice call from the ladder at the side of the boat. Sid, is that you?
At this point, I'm not sure anymore.
Okay, well, whoever you are, we need to get you out of here. Look, you can explain everything on the way.
Bet you didn't expect something like that for little old me, huh? Yeah, well, everyone's got a story, and that's mine.